Welcome to FM Tuition Academy. Okay, if you haven't clicked the subscribe button right now, click the subscribe button. It is down there. It is in red. Okay, it's in red. You're going to find a button down there written red. So if you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button. Okay, what we're going to be looking at is, in mathematics, we're going to be learning what is the topic called difference of two squares. We're going to be looking at a topic called difference of two squares. Okay, so the topic we'll be looking at in mathematics is called difference of two squares. Okay, difference of two squares. Difference means minus. Okay, so difference of two squares. So there are certain things that you're supposed to know. For example, there are certain things I'll need to teach you. For example, things to know. If I write 1 squared, what I mean is, 1 times 1, okay, which is equal to 1. If I write 2 squared, I mean 2 times 2, which is equal to 4. So meaning 4 is a perfect square because it's from 2 squared. So if I write 3 squared, it is 3 times 3. 3 squared means multiply 3 twice. That's what squared means, which is equal to 3 times 3 is 9. If I say 4 squared, I mean 4 times 4, which is equal to 16. 5 times 5 squared, what about 5 squared? What does it mean? If I say 5 squared, what do I mean? I mean 5 times 5. I don't mean 5 times 2. I mean 5 times 5. You multiply 5 by itself twice. That's what we are doing to all the numbers. So it is 25. 6 squared, because of space. 6 squared, it means 6 times 6, which is 36. Okay? 7 squared, it is 7 times what? 7, which is what? 49. 8 squared, it is 8 times 8, which means 64. Okay? 9 squared, it is 9 times 9 is equal to 81. 10 squared is 10 times 10, which is equal to 100. Okay, so these numbers, the ones that you are multiplying, these ones are squares. You see, they've got 2. These are squares. All these are squares. But these ones are perfect squares. So if I say write 4 as a square, it is 2 squared. If I say write 9 as a square, it is 3 squared. If I tell you write 16 as a perfect square, it will be 4 squared. If I ask you write 49 as a perfect square, you say 7 squared. Okay? If I say write 36 as a perfect square, you write 6 squared. If I say write 64 as a perfect square, you write 8 squared. Okay? That's how you solve these things. So I was just trying to show you so that you understand that these are squares. Okay? Now, for example, if the question came, they said, simplify, we're dealing with the difference of two squares, okay? Simplify a squared minus b squared. Okay? They want you to simplify this. The first thing you do is, this is what you call the difference of two squares. Why? Because difference is minus. The way minus, it means difference. You learned that from grade 5, 6 and 7. Minus, it means difference. So there's a square of A here and another square of B. You see? Two squares. So this is the difference of two squares. The square of A and also the square of B. We are simplifying. There are two squares. There's a 2 this side and a 2 this side. There's a square of A and also the square of B. So that is the difference of two squares. The square of A and the square of B. So I'll rub that. And then we solve. So the first thing is equal to. So how do you simplify this? You pick one A, then you put plus, okay? Then the other, you pick one B there, you close. Again, since the A's are 2 here, you say A, and then you put minus B. That's how you solve. You always pick the letter, the first letter you pick, plus, you pick the second letter, B. You put your B here, open bracket, close bracket, open bracket, A, there is one A that has remained. It is always plus here and minus this side. So when you pick the first letter here, once you pick the first letter here, you say A plus, you pick the second letter that is on the other side, B, just like that. So the same thing, even if I say C squared minus B squared. For example, if this was the second question, this is the first question, question 1, and then this one is question 2. Okay, they want you to simplify this. The same thing, you pick a C here, you say C plus, when you're simplifying, again you pick B here. Whatever letter is this side, let me use a different, it's fine. So B, I pick B here. So I put plus B here. And then open bracket again, C, you pick one C, since there were 2, minus B there. Whatever letters they give you. Okay, question 3, they can give you a different question where they want to simplify, let's say x squared minus y squared. It's the same thing. Okay, you pick one x, again you put plus, you pick one y from this other side, you see, it doesn't matter what they give you. Again one x, again you put minus. So it's always plus here and then minus other side. The first letter plus the last letter. Again, open close, the first letter minus the last letter. So the first letter plus the last letter, open closed, the first letter minus the last letter, just like that. That's how you solve this type of questions. So you solve them like that. So for example, if they give you z squared minus t squared, we are simplifying. This is question 4. The same thing. So you pick one z plus one t, again this other side, one z minus one t. That's how you simplify that. So it applies just like that. Okay. What about if the situation changes? Maybe they say z squared minus b squared. You see? Okay, let me not use z squared. Let me use another letter. Let's say this is question 5 now. We say b squared minus 2 squared. Have you seen the difference of two squares, right? Can you see? Difference of two squares, the square of b and the square of 2. There are 2. The square of b here and the square of 2. 2 of them. There are 2 squares. So it means that system can work. So what do you do? You say equals, you pick one b there, plus 1, 2, since there are 2 2's. You see, they have written it. Again, the b that remains, since there were 2, minus, you see there it is. That's how you solve. Question 6, they can say t squared minus 6 squared. You see, you pick one t minus 1 6, you close. Again, t, oh, here it was plus rather. Okay, so t plus 6, and then minus t minus 6. So that's how you do it. Whatever, whether it's numbers or it's letters they give you, you write them like that. Okay. Now, sometimes they can bring a question where they say simplify. They can say simplify b squared minus 4. Have you seen this? B squared minus 4. Can you see this? is this one doesn't have this one has got a square, but this one doesn't have a square. It's just 4. So the first thing when they give you something like this, you check first, is this number a perfect square? If it is a perfect square, you write it as a perfect square. You remember those numbers I was giving you? I think you remember. So meaning that when you are solving this, before you solve, you first write it as a square. So it will be b squared minus this 4. You write it as a square. It will be 2 squared. Don't write 4 squared like this, guys, please. Don't write 4 squared like this. No. We said what is 4 as a square, because when you write 4 squared, it means you're saying 16. This is not 16. Okay? You are writing 4 as a square. What number should I square to get 4? In short, the square root of 4, you square it. The square root of 4, it's 2. Okay? The square root of this 4, it's 2. So you put 2 and then squared on top. Okay? And then that's why now you can write now the difference of 2 squares for this. Okay? So it will be b plus, and then 2 there, and then b minus 2. That's the difference of 2 squares. Okay? That's how you solve it. So this is the question 1 here. Okay? Question 2, the same thing. They can bring t squared minus 36. Okay? It's the same thing that you are solving here. You say t squared. What is 36? The square root of 36 is what? It is 6. So you put 6. And then you square it. So that 6 squared is 36. Okay? As a square, it's basically. Don't say 36 squared. The square root of 36 is 6. And then you square it. Okay? So it will be t plus 6. Again, t minus 6. Okay? So it goes just like that. It can be y squared minus, this is a question, this is question what? Question 2. This is now question 3. Okay, y squared minus 100, for example. So it will be y squared minus, what's the square root of 100? 10. And then I square it. So it will be y plus 10. Okay? Y minus 10. Okay? That's how you solve this type of questions. So it goes on, it goes on. That's how you solve this type of questions. Okay? That's how you solve those type of questions. Now, sometimes they may tell you, or they may give you b squared minus 1. Okay? They want you to simplify this. Whenever it is 1 at the end, you just square it. Okay? Once it's 1, you just square it. So it will be whatever letter they give you. So it will be b squared minus, if there is 1 there at the end, you just put squared. Okay? Once it's 1, you just put squared, because the square root of 1 is 1. And then you square it. The square root of 1 is 1. So it will be b plus 1. And again, open bracket, b minus 1. I said whenever it's 1, you put 1 squared. Okay? So this is question 4. Okay? Question 5. Okay? They can give you y squared minus 1. Have you seen? It's the same thing. Again, you say y, and then here, since it's 1, you say 1 squared. I think I've taught you this from the other example. Whatever letter they give you, y minus, like that. Okay? So that's how you solve this type of questions. Okay? Now, sometimes they may say x squared minus, okay, let me give you another type. Simplify 2x squared minus 2. Have you seen this type of questions? They give you such type of equation. How do you solve such kind of equation? Because 2 is appearing on both sides. Okay? It's appearing on both sides. It means you should factor it out, since it's appearing on both sides. So when you are solving such kind of equation, you factor it out. Okay? You factor 2 out. So what will remain there? It's x squared minus 2 into that 2. It will be 1. Closed. Okay? And then 2 open bracket x squared. I said 1, you always, for you to write 1 as a perfect square, you say 1 squared. You remember what I said? 1 squared. So it will be 2 open bracket x plus 1, you pick 1 from that side, open bracket again, x minus 1, closed. That's the answer. This is the answer. Once there's a number that is appearing both sides, there's 2 here, 2 there, you factor out the 2. That's why I put 2 there. When you remove 2 there, it will be x squared minus 2 into 2 is 1 here. And then 1 as a perfect square, you put 1 squared, and then you pick. That's how you solve this kind of questions. Okay? They can give you 6z squared minus 6. You remember what I said? When the numbers, they are same. This is question 2. This is question 2. When the numbers are same, this number in front here and the other side, once they are same, you factor out that common number. That's what I said. Okay? Z squared. 6 into 6 here, it's 1. Okay? And then it will be 6z squared minus 1 as a perfect square. We said we put a squared on top there. Okay? And then that will be z plus 1, open bracket again, z minus 1. That's how you solve this type of questions. It doesn't matter whatever number. It can be 7p squared minus 1 minus 7. Okay? 7p squared minus 7. Okay? Minus 7 this side. It's the same thing. Okay? That's question 3 now. So it will be 7, which is common, open bracket, p squared minus 7 into 7 is 1. Okay? That's what I said. Because 7 is appearing this side and appearing that side. I've taught you how to solve such kind of questions. So minus 1 as a perfect square, it's 1 squared. 7, p plus 1, open p minus 1. So it applies just like that. It applies just like that. And then now you solve this exercise. Okay? Now you solve the exercise. So question 1. Simplify. That's question A. X squared minus b squared. How do you simplify this? Question B. T squared minus y squared. Question C. Z squared minus 4 squared. Question D. Three squared minus 3. Question E. 9 squared minus 9. Question F. C squared minus 1. G. F squared minus 1. H. P squared minus 81. I. O squared minus 49. I've taught you this, how to solve this type of questions. So you can solve now. Answer the exercise. So all these questions answer. Submit your answers by posting the answers using pictures.